Morning everybody, Grizz again. Just a little video we're going to do here. We had a question from Drama on DIYmolds.com in regards to the expiration of polyester resin or your resin for fiberglass. So I'll try my best to answer it with the knowledge I have. I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but I'll tell you what my experience is. So this is the stuff I use. It is a polyester resin. I think there's epoxy kinds too, but this is the most common for fiberglassing. Now, the fellow next door to me is a fiberglass boat repair guy, and he's been doing it for about 35 years. And I'll give you an example. At the beginning of the year here, I had lent him a 5-gallon bucket or a 16-liter of my polyester resin. He buys his in a 55-gallon drum. He wanted it in a bucket just because it was easy for him to take to a job site because it had a lid on it. So he paid me back this year he filled up one of my empty buckets, and his 55-gallon drum is probably a year and a half old. What he does is he just stirs it, he shakes it really good, rolls it around in the bucket. Now, there are lumps in it. Like, I don't know if you... reminds me of the cooking days. If it crystallizes or what it does, it gets some lumps in it, and I've watched him do it before too. So either you just take a couple little screens and, you know, crisscross them on top of your an empty bucket, or you can buy an inexpensive sieve. Don't take your wife's gravy strainer because she'll get pissed. And just put it over an empty bucket and dump it in, and the little lumps and bigger sized lumps come out. It didn't affect anything. Like, I did my usual glass. It kicked off like normal. It set like normal. There was no issues. I asked him too about expiry, and he just sort of laughed that there's no such thing, and he's been doing it for 30-something years. Now, that being said, if you research on the internet and just find some forums, some people say, oh yeah, it's only good for 3 months, throw it out after 6 months, don't use it if it's over a year. But there's lots of people who said too they've used 10-year-old and 20-year-old resin, and it's just fine. I suggest to you that the best thing to do is to see if it's okay. If you're worried about it not being all right, is, you know, get a little cup and put some in, and put some of your hardener in there. You know, put quite a few drops in just to get it to kick off. If you feel it getting nice and hot and it's setting, be careful. Don't let, I think they call it exothermic. Like, it will catch on fire if you add too much. You can go outside with it. But if it kicks off like normal, then I think there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't use it. On the internet too, I've seen quite a few people saying, you know, like, make sure you shake, if you have an old one, shake it. So I do too. Like, I've used easily over a year-old resin. Like, that was I think my first bucket was a year-old bucket. I turned the whole bucket upside down for a couple of days because it can separate out a little bit. I don't think it did. And then I just pick it up and I just shake the shit out of it, back and forth, and pour, and it's just fine. And that's a year-old, or maybe just over a year-old resin. So I know when I get my resin as well from my supplier, they will write FIFO on top, first in, first out. They say that's the oldest one. I never did ask them what they recommend for age-wise. I mean, I guess you could go straight on to, you know, if there's a website for your brand, and just see what they recommend. But anyway, in my experience, I've used with well over a year old, the stuff, a year and a half, and not an issue at all. And the straining is quite common. If you research on the internet too, lots of people say just strain the little lumps out and it's good. So anyway, that's mine. It's by no means am I an expert on this stuff, so I'm just telling you my experience about it. But you know, if you want to research a bit more, maybe check out the website from your particular brand. Okay, gang, I hope that helps out. And Drama, I hope that helps you with your question. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.